Greetings to all South Africans, general, members of Dudula and supporters of Operation Dudula. This is Dan Khadebe, the National Deputy Chairperson of Operation Dudula. As we have indicated earlier on, we are here today calling this media briefing so that we can inform South Africans and let them know about the resolutions of the conferences that were held on the 7th of May. That is Western Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, and Limpopo. There were resolutions that were made, hence you see our theme that says Road to Parliament. So we are starting a campaign and officially wanting to know, to let the South Africans know about the resolutions, because we respect South Africans, we don't take them for granted. You cannot do things without consulting South Africans, as the current administration does, forcing us to live with the neighbors that we didn't invite in our townships, in our neighborhoods. But as we have alerted people that we've got an advisory board, so there is a leader of that board that is our directing, Dr. Isaac Lisole. We will hand it over to him to come and read the media statement that has been prepared by the advisory board, including the legal team that took part in preparing the media release that will be released today. So I will hand over to him. Thank
you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, leadership. Thank you for the opportunity. My task is very simple. It's just to read what has been prepared as a result of the consultative conference that we come from. So, like the DC has already said, I am the leader of the advisory board, and the statement that has been prepared here represents the NEC, the advisory board, and the legal team that brought us here today. So I'll start and just say that at the beginning of 2023, the National Executive Committee formally established a technical advisory board that would be made public as soon as it is convenient to do so. The advisory board was given a responsibility to analyze both Operation Dudula as a brand and the reputational value of the brand. The advisory board concluded in its analysis and its findings to the NEC at the beginning of 2023. After going through the report and its recommendations, the NEC, in its own wisdom, elected to share the report with the membership, supporters, and sympathizers with the sole objective of seeking a mandate to change the organization's public engagement strategy. Accordingly, the National Executive Committee convened a consultative conference that was scheduled for the 7th of May 2023. While the main event was at Johannesburg City Hall, the members and supporters convened in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Western Cape, KZN, and Northwest. As indicated above, the main objective of the consultative conference was for the NEC to present the findings and recommendations of the advisory board to conference and allow conference to deliberate on same. Today's briefing is only meant to communicate the resolution of the consultative conference as we hereby do. The NEC will also take this opportunity to give highlights of what will characterize Operation Dudula as an uncaptured political party. It must be noted that for the longest time, the NEC held an uncorroborated view that Operation Dudula was under siege. This view was informed by a number of worrying factors. Notwithstanding this view, it remains undisputed that majority of South Africans are troubled by migrants who consciously elect to come and stay in our country illegally. In this case, come would mean, or it refers to those who literally jump our borders or pay corrupt officials at points of entry because they don't possess valid travel documents. Stay refers to migrants who come to South Africa with an intention to stay beyond a legally permissible duration. It is undisputed that corrupt businessmen and women masquerading as decent and honorable government officials at the Department of Home Affairs have made South Africa an attractive destination for tourists and migrants with nefarious objectives. It remains undisputed that 2 out of 3 spaza shops and supermarkets operating across all townships are owned and operated by My Friend. That's a considerable number of restaurants in affluent suburbs and malls have illegal foreigners. To prevent illicit outflow of medication and rampant theft, public hospitals and clinics are supposed to obtain valid identification from all patients who receive treatment from public health facilities. Failure to do so means that public health facilities simply can't account for medication issued, especially if the receiver is a chronic patient. It must be noted that public health facilities are accountable institutions who must report acts of illegality or abuse of women and children. The fact that our hospitals continue to provide services to migrants who are supposed to be declared to immigration officers post-medical services. This is important because we say post because people have been saying that Operation Dudula says people should not get medication. No, no, no. What we're saying is that after they have received treatment, they must be declared to immigration officers because they are illegally in the country, and therefore immigration officers are supposed to do their work. The fact that they're not doing this is an illustration that there is no political will to save South Africa from an influx of illegal foreigners roaming our streets. Operation Dudula was just a civic platform that consolidated and became a voice of communities who remained concerned with an influx of illegal foreigners in South Africa. Sadly, the state president, Ntate Cyril Ramaphosa, we thought Remorata Kaufela and Leena Orarata Kaufela. He decided to single out Operation Dudula and labeled it a vigilante group. And he also said that Operation Dudula should not be supported by the ANC or any government department. Needless to say, Operation Dudula has not asked for anything from the ANC, but wanted the government elected by the poor, unemployed, to act on illegality. But instead, President, you've given illegal foreigners a voice. That's why they can pick up guns against our police officers. Both the ODs, Operation Dudula's NEC and conference concluded that the president meant that millions of unemployed citizens, the youth, grannies who support Operation Dudula, and communities that are concerned with porous borders and by extension influx of illegal people who will go to the polls next year are the same. the currently and previously marginalized people are the ones that the president is talking about. They remain voiceless, they remain poor, and they remain desperate. Now, after analyzing the impact of the statement and the reasons why this statement was made, the 7th of May 2023 Consultative Conference concluded that Operation Dudula is under siege and must fight back so that it does not lose the platform to raise issues around illegal foreigners who control 85% of the informal trading sector, and this sector contributes about 18% to SA's GDP. This is called the hidden economy, Mr. President. This right here is one of the contributing factors why SA is grey listed. This right here is the reason why SA has a problem with illicit outflow of cash. Accordingly, the 7th of May 2023 Consultative Conference affirmed the relevance and accuracy of long-standing, well-documented issues that continue to trouble our communities. These include, but not limited to, porous borders, drug trafficking, irregular selling and occupation of RDP houses, just to mention a few. As an attempt to empower Operation Dudula to deal with these challenges, the overwhelming majority of participants, delegates from GP, Western Cape, Mpumalanga, Northwest, KZN, and Limpopo, resolved that the NEC should dissolve the current NPC, non-profit company, the civic movement as it stands today, and register as a political party. Conference further resolved that Operation Dudula NEC should urgently put systems in place and contest the 2024 national general elections. The 7th of May Consultative Conference also noted and appreciated the following concerns. That the National Executive Committee in its current form does not have the requisite resources, operational and financial capabilities to handle the task ahead. Most importantly, the 7th May 2023 Consultative Conference concluded that the NEC should augment itself with representatives from other provinces. While the benefit outweighs the risk, conference registered a strong concern in converting community activists into politicians. And this is important because you would understand that Operation Dudula moves from being a civic movement to being a political organization. That transition, conference registered concerns. However, the NEC is mandated to develop a mitigation plan, and this will be announced soon. As a result of the statement made by the state president, the damage caused to the brand and its reputation was meant to bury Operation Dudula as a civic movement. On the above, conference resolved to circle back to the same media houses, the CNN, the Reuters, the Bloomberg, and Washington Post, Al Jazeera, and all of those that covered the story and said that Operation Dudula is a vigilante, it's a xenophobic and a vigilante group. Those who carried this story about Operation Dudula must be approached because Operation Dudula must save itself. Conference further resolved to actively ask business to support in line with the existing legal prescripts. Having said this, Operation Dudula's NEC would like to use this opportunity to thank members, supporters, and sympathizers to support Operation Dudula's NEC would like to use this opportunity to thank members, supporters, and sympathizers for support, dedication, and commitment. In the same breath, the NEC would like to assure South Africans the following. Operation Dudula will not apologize for calling for mass deportation of illegal foreigners. It must be noted that conference will also clarify Operation Dudula's position as it relates to legal and illegal foreigners. Because of high levels of corruption at the Department of Home Affairs and various ports of entry, until all permits are subjected to an independent audit and verification, Operation Dudula firmly believes that permits and travel documents that are in circulation are a direct product of corruption and crime. That until municipalities and other law enforcement agencies implement laws, bylaws, and remove counterfeit goods, expired goods from the spaza shops in black townships, and until the South African government and politicians hold countries whose citizens inflict pain and damages accountable to our fiscus by claiming damages under international law, corrupt officials and politicians will continue to benefit from the presence of illegal foreigners. What this is that there are people that are coming from different countries and just outright commit crime in the country. And their countries of origin must be held accountable. There are people who just go in different townships and outright sell drugs. And the pain and damage that they're causing to young people in the country cannot go unnoticed. So based on this reality, unlike political parties who sell dreams to voters, Operation Dudula shall identify, monitor employers who consciously employ illegal foreigners with an intent and willingness to pay a fine. They say that it's easier to pay a fine than to hire a South African. And the Department of Labor inspectors go around, and in some cases they take bribes all around. Remove and replace illegal foreigners with deserving South Africans across all restaurants or non-scarce skills jobs, starting with famous brands on a 7-day notice. So we want to test to South Africans what Operation Dudula can do. So the first is that Operation Dudula is going to take a test case and take a specific company that has and owns a number of restaurants with an intention to remove all illegal foreigners across these restaurants. We would also identify and remove illegal foreigners who irregularly occupy RDP houses and return same to the state and eventually to deserving South Africans. Operation Dudula will also use all available legal instruments to compel the estate agencies or persons who sell or lease out properties to obtain FICA documents in terms of Schedule 1 of the Financial Intelligence Center Act as amended. Between now and 2024, national general elections, Operation Dudula campaign will be to create jobs, reclaim RDP houses, and reclaim vendor stalls and spaza shops to the benefit of South Africans. As we conclude, Operation Dudula would like to send a fair warning to citizens who front for illegal immigrants. You are the country's weakest link, and this must stop and must stop now. I thank you.
recognize it loud and clear. Before we elaborate about the media briefing itself, there's one issue before I open for questions and clarities from the House. Last week on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, the CEO of Baragwanath Hospital was on Power FM in the late afternoon, where there's a claim that between January and now, 900 babies died. And the hospital took the blame. Everybody was blaming the hospital. Everybody was saying, no, the hospital is ineffective, this and that. And it was very much shocking when he clarified that all the 900 children who died were born by foreign mothers who were illegal in the country. Because they were not attending any clinic. They came on the eve of giving birth into the country, running straight. And most of them, they had a high volume of AIDS or HIV, and they couldn't be treated. And the hospital was being blamed, saying 900 children, without looking at what resulted, what was the cause for that. But I think it's about time to open for questions. If anyone wants more clarity on the media briefing that has been read out. Thank you, sir. Can you start by maybe introducing yourself before?
Tami Sokoba from Eyewitness News. So I have a couple of questions. What I want to call the party now. What is the party's sort of mandate, just beyond obviously this issue of deportation and illegal foreigners? Do you obviously, now that you're going to become a political party, I assume obviously you're going to have much more diverse views on other issues beyond this. And so when do you plan to register to the IEC, or has that already happened? There's also been a question of who is funding Operation Dudula. So how is Operation Dudula being funded, and how do you plan to fund your election campaign going forward? And just lastly, does Ntlantla have any sort of involvement in Operation Dudula going forward? That's it for me.
Okay. I don't know, colleagues. Mr. Isaac, would you come and clarify certain questions?
Thank you very much. The primary objective for today was to talk to the resolutions of the conference. Like a political party now, Operation Dudula will now have to put together its own manifesto, and in that manifesto we will talk about all the other issues that we need to be mentioning. But for now, we're going to limit today to the resolutions of the conference. Secondly, the resolution was only passed this Sunday, and we've just met with the team that's going to help, and in the house here we've got the legal team that's basically going to help us with that process. We've not registered as yet, but we're definitely starting the process. Funding, we're hoping that you'll be the first person to fund and help, because we need a lot of it. We need a lot of money. We're going to knock on all the doors. We're going to knock on businesses and others. We are no more a vigilante group now, so you can now start funding. Please bring the money and open your checkbooks, because we need that money for elections. The last issue on our friend Ntlantla, this media conference is about the resolution of conference, and we don't have a mandate to talk about any other person other than the person who's in the room, or any other political party or civic movement that's not with Dudula. If there's anything that we'll have to talk about at any given time, we will announce. But for today, the focus should be on the resolutions of conference. If there's any other, before I remove myself. So while you're thinking of any other question, I think it's important to say that we have no enemies, and we're making no enemies with anybody. We are, Operation Dudula is now a political party, and we need as many friends as possible. And that's why all we're going to be doing from now moving forward, first is to take the message to all the provinces and to the members and supporters and make sure that this message from conference is sent across the country. That's the first thing. The second thing is that along the way, we would be creating other platforms where we can be talking to business to raise a lot of capital, because we need that. But finally, is to create a structure that would be able to carry this opportunity, or rather this responsibility, in terms of beefing up the NEC, because I think conference has also expressed itself on the capacity, the operational capacity of the NEC. So the immediate task is to beef up the structure and make sure that it is properly representative of all the provinces. And it's also gender sensitive. You can see that there's a problem at home. So this needs to be addressed and solved with immediate effect. Thank you very much.
Whilst we are waiting, and question one.
Because we're live streaming, there are questions coming through from people that are doing live streaming. And one of the questions is that, does Dudula envisage any coalition moving forward with any political party? Specifically, what has been mentioned here, why not form coalition with the likes of EFF?
Any other question? Before Tateli Sole comes back? We don't have any other question. Tateli Sole would like to address that before I give it to the collective YEMA executive to come and elaborate further on the media briefing.
After this, I'm sure my task would be complete. Operation Dudula is not a political party yet. The process still needs to start to register, and thinking of who to go into bed with as early as before you are even born. I mean, that's premature. So we're an organization that needs to establish its own brand on the ground. It's an organization that needs to clarify its own message. Only when we've clarified our message and our vision and mission as a political party, we will then be able to see who we align with, if it is also necessary, because we're going into elections with one intention. We believe that the issues that Operation Dudula stands for resonate with majority of South Africans. Therefore, our intention is to go into that space and win. We want to win. So we don't want no coalition or anything at this point in time until the numbers tell us otherwise. But for now, we want to have a president coming from Operation Dudula. Thank you.
Okay. Let's hope, and as they come in through the stream, maybe you'll alert us. There's one thing that we would like to elaborate on and make it clear, that there were reasons why Operation Dudula remained a civic movement. We have knocked in every door. We have knocked in Home Affairs, we have knocked in Labor, asking them to enforce the law, not to rewrite the laws of the country. And then it became very much clear that they don't have the appetite to enforce the laws of the country. I think it will assist on the question you asked earlier on. These are some of the reasons that the members of Operation Dudula deliberated on the 7th of May. That why should we keep on knocking on the same door if you don't get good results? Why do you keep on doing the same thing and expect different results? So that motivated Operation Dudula. Maybe it would be better then to go to Parliament and enforce these laws ourselves, because we have tried. If we had an appetite of being in Parliament earlier on, we would have done it long time ago. But we believed that as a SIG movement, we can talk to the government to enforce the laws, protect South Africans from this foreign invasion. But unsuccessfully so. For 2.5 years doing the same thing. And it became clear that they don't have the appetite. Hence the members of Dudula, they took a resolution that it might be better to go and do it ourselves. Coalition, not as yet. He answered you. We might not even need one. We are going for 55%. So we might not even need one. We'll campaign every day, 24 hours. We will make sure. So we might not even go there. And if we don't win, we'll remain as a very strong opposition party, that's all. We're not interested in sitting with them, helping them to corrupt and destroy the country. Rather, we remain being a opposition. I think Nobala, there's something that he wanted to add. You can come over. Well, she'll introduce herself, by the way. Not gonna do that.
Greetings, fellow South Africans. Yeah, I believe we have a problem. This gender is now becoming a problem. But, maybe just to add on what our deputy has mentioned about us now having to become a political party. We would have really loved to stay as a civic movement, but unfortunately, even when we've done research with the IEC, the only option that we had was to either become a political party or you register as an independent. So unfortunately, because Operation Dudula works as a collective, the only option for us was to become a political party. But I know how South Africans feel about politicians, and believe me, we feel the same. We share this very same sentiment. But what I'd love to assure South Africans is that we will not be politicians. Yes, we are in politics, but we're going to drive this train differently than politicians. We're going to try and be different than the other politicians. Our strive is to make sure that everything that we have stated here, we are here for South Africans and not for our own personal gain, for our personal gains. Thank you.
You didn't introduce yourself. Her name is Dudula.
They know me by now.
Hey, the funding issue. Everybody is asking this question. How did you manage to grow Operation Dudula from 10 people to almost 1 million now? The commitment and the frustration of South Africans assisted and funded Operation Dudula. People, members of Operation Dudula, have been funding Dudula themselves, so it's been self-funding. And we strongly believe that moving forward, it can still happen. We are not going to be desperate and nail into people's doors asking for funding, because if it's going to delay us, we will call it on without funding as we manage to get where we are without funding. So that is not, it's a list of our problems. As we're about to conclude, if we don't have more questions, I think we've got another question that coming.
Okay. Another question that came through is, given the opportunity to represent South Africans in Parliament, would you name, at least in order of priority, name 5 key issues that Dudula would be addressing and advocating in order of priority? What is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth thing that you would immediately begin to address?
I think he'll come over, but I believe that he tried answering it by saying we are in the process of drafting the manifesto. And the manifesto will outline in detail it's a manifesto of good governance, by the way, that's how we call it. Yeah, so it will outline the policies of Operation Dudula, items that we look into. Because we must note one thing, we are not here to rewrite the laws of South Africa. South Africa has got a very good laws. The biggest problem that we have in South Africa is enforcement of the laws. That is what has put South Africa to where it is now. So our first priority will be to make sure that we enforce the laws, and once we enforce those laws, the most of South Africans' problems will be solved. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything on what I said.
Look, thank you, DC. That's what it is. There are a couple of milestones. We're going to register a political party. We're going to launch a manifesto. We're going to launch our election campaign. All of these things will be outlined as we move forward. I think what's important is that we strongly believe that there are a lot of job economic opportunities that are trapped inside corruption. If you were to enforce the laws, you would open a whole lot of economic opportunities, especially the informal trading sector, where you have almost 160 billion rand per annum. That's going into the hands of people we don't know. And that's the money that is supposed to be going to South Africans. Where is that salon? Where's that mother who used to do your hair? Where is she? Go to Brie Taxi Rank, you're going to find that almost every person who occupies a stall there is an illegal foreign national. So in terms of priority, 1, 2, 3, and 4, mass deportation, mass deportation, mass deportation, mass deportation, and mass deportation in terms of the order. So from now moving forward, it must be understood that every other person has spoken about Operation Dudula and they have given messages. But our pride today is that no one is going to be talking about Operation Dudula without us ourselves, including those who now have their Facebook pages and Twitter pages that we don't know. We're going to close them because we have our own internal communications and media house that's going to drive our message. Because the mistake that has happened in the past and the confusion that you see in the market today, it's as a result of these confusing messages and everybody claiming to be representing Operation Dudula. Operation Dudula has got one leadership, and that's the leadership that's sitting here. Any other person who's not on this table today, other than the people that are in the provinces, the regions and branches, there's no other person who will give a message about Operation Dudula. And therefore, media must then take the responsibility of asking the right questions. Do you represent Operation Dudula? Show us your mandate, because that's what causes the confusion, and it must stop, and it must stop today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lisole. I think we've got a follow-up question. Let's hope that will be the last question that we are taking so that we can conclude the business of the day. Okay, in the meantime, meanwhile we are reading it. I wonder if someone can tell me, out of all the engineers that we have in the country, highly qualified, experienced, you go and hire an accountant to go and run ESCOM. He knows nothing about rents. He knows nothing about coal. He knows nothing about electricity. So it was doomed to collapse, according to me. Why didn't you hire an engineer who's experienced when it comes to electrical issues and let that person lead that CEO? I don't think we would be. So it's a question of allowing South Africans to govern their country, qualified South Africans, not because of their political affiliation.
Yes.
That is an opportunity that we are going to give to South Africans. That qualified, deserving South Africans will assist in leading this, in fixing this country and make sure that South Africa is going back to its former glory. That is where we want to take South Africa to. That is why I'm using the example of the CEO who was at ESCOM, who's an accountant. Then you've got someone is the CEO of Transnet. He knows nothing about trains. Transnet will collapse. And then you've got those people unemployed sitting there, qualified people. But once you give deserving South Africans, qualified South Africans, an opportunity to work the country and resuscitate the economy of this country, we believe that will go somewhere. Do we have any questions?
Okay, the one, but I think if I can sum it up, was if I can just sum it up, it was talking about how different will Dudula be from all the other political parties that have been coming and going. They were mentioning like we've seen the likes of UDM, the split between Sam Shilowa and Terali Kota. It has put basically it was saying it has put UDM where it is. Are we not going to see the same thing happening to Dudula now that it's taking this time?
I think our answer there will force us to revert back to your previous question as to maybe if we can mention 5 points that Operation Dudula is going to tackle over and above the mass deportation. It goes back by in saying that South Africans, we believe that before we conclude the festival, South Africans will be given an opportunity to have an input that these are the issues that we would love Dudula to tackle for us, because we've been frustrated by the previous political organizations. Now the difference with Operation Dudula, it's grounded, it's mass-based, and people will have a say from time to time on how issues should be tackled, on how things should be done in government. People will be given a say through Operation Dudula. We will not renegade from the commitment that we made when we said military veterans and the community. We are not changing our statements, we are consistent. So we will be consulting with communities from time to time, and I believe in that process. That is where people will get an opportunity to make sure that they keep Dudula on track on its commitments, because it depends on the South Africans to make sure that Dudula keeps its commitments to them. If that was the last question, can we then agree that we are concluding the business of the day? Okay, no further question. I think UTG wants to have a word also. Let's give him that opportunity. Angayidlulisi athi hayi akaze nazosho ngokwakhe. Ngangifuna ukushaya abantu ngedwa lapha ngaphandle.
Morning. Solomon Kruger-Kekana, Treasurer General National. It's just one point I just want to highlight to all South Africans. There is a smear campaign. We know that most of the time they will say we take bribes. So I just want to put this clear. There is no bribes that are taken in the leadership. So anybody who alleges us will have to take a stand, will have actually to open a case against those ones who are smearing our names. So that's what I wanted to clear to all the South Africans out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Emilio. I think our national coordinator, ucela something what draws the line between political Dudula and other political parties that have been there on the space. So ucela nje simnikeze 2 minutes exactly, so that's something.
Thanks to you, Deputy Chair and the Program Director. Greetings to all citizens of this country, members of Operation Dudula. My name is Thabo Mayo, the National Coordinator of Operation Dudula. Just to give clarity to the last questions in terms of the difference between Operation Dudula and other political parties. With Operation Dudula being, as a civic movement, we were head on to all issues that are affecting the citizens of this country. Secondly, we were practical when it comes to law enforcement. If we can look, we have the laws in our country, but we have the government that are not practically implementing those laws. That is where you see Operation Dudula become more flexible in ensuring that those immigration laws are implemented on the ground. And we've seen with numerous response from the law enforcement to other government officials, pretending as if they're helping us to fix or to implement those laws. They only do 1, 2, 3 times. Thereafter, they will disappear. With all our events, they've actually shown the citizens of this country how much we have achieved. When we come to Employment Service Act number 4 of 2014, talking to section 19.4, referring to number 8, we have enforced all business entities who are employing foreign nationals on a non-skilled jobs that they must be replaced by our South African. And many of our South Africans have got jobs. If you look at also when it comes to employment rate, we as Operation Dudula have reduced it to 38%, which is from the start, it was 39%. So that is where the difference of Operation Dudula it goes. It's more practically on the ground. It doesn't just talk, but it goes down to the masses, and it has so much action, and it has been proven national money.
For the first time.
For the first time.
With that, I think we have come to an end of our media briefing. And but there's only one thing that we wanted to emphasize: that this change, this shift from being a civic movement to go and contest politics, it's a bitter pill to swallow to say political party, because it is those politics that put us here. So that is why it's not easy for me to say that. But we want to assure the nation, this will not change Operation Dudula's character. We will maintain our character. We will have an operation as the media. We are going to famous brand, City Power, we are coming. We'll have programs. We will maintain our way of operation. The character will not change in order for South Africans to see or notice that whatever that we made commitment on, we will deliver on it. We thank you, everybody.